Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're looking at something, well, something pretty raw.
Yeah, definitely. It's a piece from YouTube, an artist called Samson. The track is Tipping Point. It's part song, part monologue.
And it's potent, really charged, emotionally and politically.
Absolutely. And it's kind of a perfect snapshot, isn't it, of how incredibly hard it is to talk about tragedy these days.
Yeah.
With the information chaos and the political divides.
Yeah. And the core of it is Samson wrestling with how to talk about two specific deaths, Charlie Kirk and George Floyd, and the huge difference in how people reacted.
Mm-hmm. A really stark contrast.
So just to be crystal clear up front, our job here isn't to jump into that political fray, not at all.
No.
We're here to dissect what Samson actually says in this piece, the arguments, the feelings, the specific points they make. We want to give you clarity on the source itself.
Because this kind of commentary gets twisted so easily, doesn't it? It's important to understand the original statement.
You can even hear the struggle right at the start. Samson mentions writing like 5 different intros.
Yeah, scrapping paragraphs, nearly ditching the whole thing because it felt too complicated. That hesitation itself tells you something.
It really sets the scene, this struggle for truth or just clarity. It's right there. The artist says they feel half and half torn on it.
And admits to reading way too much, which I think a lot of us can relate to.
Totally. And then that worry, wondering if they were warping it because, as they put it, the facts are distorted so much. That really captures the feeling, that information anxiety.
And it's interesting. It's not just anxiety about the topic. It's about the information itself. The sheer volume, the distortion.
Right. They say it's hard to comb through all these different passages and sort it.
And that there's just so much stuff coming at you that, well, it can make you feel like you don't know what's fake or real.
So you feel overwhelmed, confused. Does the artist think that's just how it is, or is there something else going on?
Oh, they definitely suspect it's not accidental. It shifts pretty quickly from confusion to suspicion.
Suspicion of manipulation.
Yeah. The feeling that this overload, this gridlock, it feels done on purpose just to make us chase our tails. That's a direct quote.
Wow. So not just noise, but engineered noise.
Exactly. That's the implication, that it's designed to stop a real conversation, maybe, to keep everyone running in circles.
That's a pretty heavy indictment of, well, everything. The media, the online world.
It is. And what's the artist's escape hatch? What do they wish for?
Ah, the Matrix reference.
Right. They wish someone would wake me up and offer me those Matrix pills.
To see through all the tints in the facade.
It's such a powerful image, isn't it? It speaks to this deep, almost desperate need to get outside the system to see clearly without any filter. Because they believe the system itself is fundamentally flawed.
A total lack of trust in the narratives being presented.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so if the information's unreliable, the artist seems to pivot to something they can judge. Reputation. Which brings us to the core comparison.
Right, the comparison between Charlie Kirk and George Floyd that they find so inappropriate.
The piece starts, though, with condolences to Kirk's family. Samson makes a point of that and mentions feeling this obligation to use their platform, even with the struggle to write it.
And then they immediately try to define Kirk's role, almost to insulate him from the comparison that's coming.
How do they frame him?
As basically a talker, a debater. These stress, all he did was talk, he debated, that was all, and crucially, never held a position in office or made any laws.
Yeah, they really hammered that point. I remember the line, never signed a single fucking bill that affected your life. That language is intense.
It really is. It shows the frustration level, right? It's like a defense mechanism defining him in these absolute terms. He talked, he didn't act in a legislative sense.
So the argument is any opposition to him was just about words people didn't like.
That's the framing. They ask, what did he do that directly impacted you, besides saying things you disliked?
And they also push back on how his words were represented, claiming quotes were taken out of their context and flipped.
Right. And even then, they argue the edited quotes still didn't sound that aggressive. So the overall point is that the reaction to Kirk felt disproportionate.
Which leads directly into rejecting the Floyd comparison.
Immediately. Calls it a wild thing to say. Stresses it's two-way different things. This shit is not even the same. Very blunt.
Okay, this is critical. We need to be really precise about the artist's stated reason for this contrast. What do they explicitly point to?
They are very clear. It's based on reputation alone. Explicitly not about race, not skin complexion.
So what about reputation?
It hinges entirely on George Floyd's lengthy criminal record. They list things like drug possessions and the robberies and home invasions.
And based on that record alone.
They say they would never fucking let George Floyd into my home. That's the stark contrast they draw based purely on that history.
But there's a slight attempt at nuance there, isn't there? A line they try not to cross?
There is. They do say we shouldn't make a mockery of him, Floyd, just because he was a criminal. And they add they won't say he deserved it.
So it's an effort to bracket the argument. It's about lifetime reputation, past actions, not about celebrating death or justifying violence against him. Is that fair?
That seems to be exactly the line they're trying to walk. Yeah.
Which brings us to the next big theme, the actual public reactions, how those deaths were marked.
Yeah, and the artist uses this to draw another sharp contrast, defining two completely different ways people responded to grief and anger.
They paint a picture of the reaction to Kirk's death using phrases like, instead of riots in the streets, we pray quietly in peace.
And never let our emotions go, we tied them to a leash. Very controlled imagery.
The defining line, though, has to be, the only thing we burned was candles, not cities.
The comparison is obviously loaded. Candles versus cities. It's meant to frame one side's reaction as measured, respectful, controlled.
And therefore morally superior to the other reaction as they perceive it.
That's the clear implication. And it feeds right into this critique of the counter-reaction, the comparisons people were making.
Calling it embarrassing and even questioning citizenship. We can't even call you Americans. That's strong stuff.
Extremely strong. And you can hear the tone shift there, can't you? That's where the tipping point really feels like it happens.
How so?
It moves from defense and explanation into just raw frustration, anger even. The artist explicitly says this is the tipping point.
Right. They mention their music used to be pretty moderate, tried to use common sense.
But now they're so fed up with the left and their stunts, that boundary just dissolves.
And the conclusion is bleak. I used to separate you now. I just think everyone sucks.
Yeah, that's the sound of someone completely worn down. Civic trust just gone.
And that feeds the accusations they then level, right? About incitement, hypocrisy.
Absolutely. They talk about seeing hella hate on the left, celebrating Kirk's death, and just the basic human disconnect there. I never saw somebody die and then felt elated or blessed.
There's a real sense of disbelief there.
And they point fingers directly at political structures, claiming, your party's been stirring this shit, that politicians encouraging this fuels the hatred.
Is there a specific example they use for hypocrisy?
Yeah, the Jimmy Kimmel situation.
Yeah.
They note that when he was pulled from the air over controversy, suddenly the First Amendment became the opposition's most sacred, cherished right.
Ah, okay. Setting up a contrast.
A really sharp one, because it's followed immediately by that line. Imagine being murdered for it.
Wow. Connecting the defensive speech, or the perceived selective defense of it, directly to lethal violence.
It's incredibly provocative. It suggests a profound irony or hypocrisy in how principles like free speech are invoked.
So Samson starts out feeling torn, overwhelmed by information, trying to sort things out. Where do they end up personally? What's the final resolution in the piece?
It ends on a note about relationships, or rather, the end of them.
Really?
Yeah, the personal cost of this polarization. The artist says they're done salvaging relationships and asks, how can you relate to somebody who cheers for this?
So the damage feels irreparable.
Completely. And the final thought is quite cynical, that this breakdown, this division, exactly how they planned it, blaming unseen forces again.
So this piece, Tipping Point, it really does give us a window, doesn't it? A painful one, maybe, into what this level of political conflict feels like.
Yeah, the psychological toll. It shows how, for some people, maybe for many, it stops being about policy details. It becomes about losing your community, not trusting anything you read or hear.
Struggling to just stay centered when everything feels like an attack.
Right. And you see that journey in the piece, from being half and half and trying to find nuance to just everyone sucks. That's how political disagreement can curdle into something much harder, more absolute, especially when you feel like distortion is everywhere.
So reflecting on this, what does it mean for you, listening to this, as you navigate your own world full of information and disagreement?
Well, the artist felt the information flow was designed to make us chase our tails, right? To wear people down. So maybe the question to ponder is, when things feel like that, when the noise is overwhelming, what works for you? What internal tool or maybe external habit helps you cut through it? Not necessarily to agree with Samson, but just to find your own stable ground, your own matrix pill for clarity.
Something to definitely think about.